Love. Some would say it took a backseat when the pandemic forced us apart. As a family-run and proudly Canadian-owned company, Charm Diamond Centres saw the need to bring us together with tales of love and created the Canadian Love Map podcast. Since then, we've shared hundreds of real, uplifting stories that prove love conquers all. So thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, love starts here.
This is a true Canadian love story.
We were meant to be together.
I can't imagine my life without you.
Honestly, he's the light of my life.
It's nice to be in that tractor beam of love.
I'm her biggest fan.
I think I knew I'd lost my heart again.
I knew I wanted a marriage like that.
Difficult roads can lead to very beautiful destinations.
Well, love is the most important thing.
Everything happens for a reason, and no matter what happens in our life or anyone's life, it's meant to happen, and everything will be what it should be against all odds.
Hi, I'm Nancy Regan. Today's love story belongs to Phoenix and Justin. Those are their real names, but their fans know them as Fox and Hound. They are singer-songwriters extraordinaire, both individually and as a duo, and they're creating a rich tapestry in their shared experience of life. Nashville was home before the pandemic, but these lovebirds have landed far from that musical epicenter in the tiny community of Salt Spring Island, BC. This is the Canadian Love Map. Fox and Hound. I love this name so much, and I want to talk, Phoenix and Justin, about how it represents you two before we talk about anything else.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So happy to be here with you talking.
I'm so happy to be here with you. Fox and Hound are the name of our musical duo. Actually came about because it originated as a nickname that Justin gave to me when we first started dating. And that is because the Phoenix's name from the Harry Potter books is Fox. And my name is Phoenix, so he gave me the nickname Fox. And then it just sort of spiraled into, and then I would call him Hound every once in a while. And then he changed his solo name to Hound, and it just felt like the most natural progression to name ourselves Fox and Hound, and the Fox and the Hound, and it just felt it felt like us.
Yeah, it came together pretty much all at once, and then I started the solo stuff. It kind of all came around the same time, and that's the very literal version, but I also think of it as just like we're just running around in the woods chasing each other. So that's really, it's wild out here, and that's where I think. That
is true. Yeah, we are running around in the woods chasing each other.
Yeah. Not naked or anything or crazy.
Okay, let's talk about love. This is the Love Map. Tell me about when the Fox and Hound met, please.
I think you should tell this because I think you remember it a little. Like the very first time that we met.
Yeah. So we met in Boston, similar to, I hadn't met Andrew yet, of course. That was one of Phoenix's friends. And
I want to make a quick note because we haven't said that I know you both through my son Andrew, who was at Berklee College of Music with you. So just to explain that's a little footnote for everybody. Okay, go Justin.
Andrew, sorry to interrupt. Incredible gentleman. What a sweet man, and I miss him very much.
Andrew was my best friend in college, like first best friend.
And actually, we did a Love Map episode with Andrew and Olivia in season 2, maybe. So people can check that out. Okay, Justin, go.
Okay, so yes, we met in short in stage crew at Berklee. So we both had a student job working these various gigs in the venues at Berklee. And I remember there was one, I think we started working the same year. So there was like an orientation at the very beginning of the year. And I just remember very vividly sitting on the main stage, I think at the BPC,
the Berklee
with 2 long tables. And you were one of maybe 4 or 5 people in that introductory group. And I was just just floored right off the bat, because I was like, oh my gosh, this beautiful redheaded lady is just so chill. And I remember you just had this infectious kind of energy about you. And I remember getting home that night, back to my dorm, or back to my apartment at the time, and telling my roommates, I was like, I am going to be with this person. I just found this incredible, beautiful, amazing person. I think she has a boyfriend, but I just gotta try. So that's how we met, I'll say, and then you can carry it on.
Yeah, that's the first.
I didn't introduce myself yet, but it's
funny because he remembers it so vividly, and I like barely do. I remember meeting you, but I don't know. I didn't have the same sort of reaction. And when we started officially like spending time together, you were like, yeah, we've met. Or like, remember back in orientation. And I was like, yeah,
sure.
But yeah, that's how we met. And we worked the same job, like Justin said. I just remember before we started dating, every shift that I worked with Justin, I just really enjoyed his company. He was a really fun person. And, you know, in a job like that, you have so many coworkers. Like there were so many venues around campus and so many shows that were constantly happening. And there were certain coworkers that really stuck out in my mind. And so every time I saw that I was working with Justin, I was excited because it just makes that time so much better. And, you know, I remember talking with him and like confiding in him and getting to know each other a little better throughout that year. But at the time I was in a different relationship. And this was, you know, back when we were super young, but like 19. But and then I went home for the summer and came back the next semester, and we just kept running into each other around campus, and I was no longer in this relationship. And I actually asked him out for coffee. Mm-hmm. And at the time I just, you know, I had just gotten out of a relationship. I was in a very transitional time in my life as a really young woman, and I wanted to enjoy time by myself and enjoy being in college and making the most of my education, and wasn't expecting anything in particular. But I asked him to hang out, and we went out for coffee, and instantly after our first conversation, I was like, yeah. I wasn't expecting to be so floored by the connection that we had. I wasn't really expecting anything in particular. And then I guess from then on, it was just like we've been inseparable, basically.
From my observation as an outsider of your relationship, it was like you two just clicked like puzzle pieces right away. You know, there was no trying to fit it together. It was like puzzle piece.
Yeah, exactly. Our relationship from the very beginning has just been what it is now, honestly. Yeah. We never had any, I mean, there have been obstacles in our lives together and apart, but like from the very beginning, I remember there was one moment where, you know, that conversation in your relationship where, you know, it's been a few weeks, it's been a few months, and you're just sort of like, okay, what's going on? But for us, it was like, from the beginning, it was like, we know what this is, right? Right. Okay. Let's, and then that's basically what it's been ever since then.
That
beautiful. Conversation was so easy because we were both in the same place. We wanted the same things. And
so your relationship, it wasn't a straight line to go from Boston to Salt Spring Island. Tell me about the journey.
So, so Justin and I both graduated from Berkeley. Justin, a semester before I did. But so I'm Canadian, obviously, and Justin is American. And after I graduated, I had the opportunity to stay in the States on what is called an OPT visa. So if you graduate from an American college or university with a degree, they allow you to hold this visa for 1 year after graduation to work in the industry in which you studied. Mm-hmm. So there are restrictions on the visa. You can only work in that, in your field of study, essentially. So I wanted to take advantage of that and stay in the States and experience a different city. And naturally, Justin and I were both very invested in being artists together and separately. And Nashville is obviously it's a very well-known town for music, but also songwriting in particular. And we basically just decided, let's move there. And I got a job in the music industry working at a record label, initially as an intern and then as the director of social media. So we were there for a year while I was on that visa, and we had a lovely, lovely house down there in an amazing community, and we were performing and releasing music, as well as both working jobs. Justin had a few jobs, but ended up as the lead guitar tech for a local like mom and pop music shop, which was amazing. And so that's how we ended up in Nashville from Boston. We just wanted a different experience. And
yeah, and if I can add, the reason we chose Nashville was because there was a Nashville trip through Berkeley every year that they organized, because they have such an extended community down there. So it was kind of a get on the bus type of deal. Get on the bus if you want to come. You pay a fee, get on the bus. And we had talks, like TED Talks, pretty much from just huge industry people and Universal and amazing opportunities. So they kind of do wow you. And we were just sold instantly. I mean, just for like Phoenix was saying, the songwriting culture, the community and culture of songwriting that was existing down there, and the supportive, just like do your thing type of energy. So I think it was also cheap living in Phoenix. And I, we've been fortunate enough to get support from our families, of course, but we both were very keen on paying our way in life and making it manageable for us to actually, sustainable, that we weren't just a tax or burden on our families anymore, especially that huge, bill from Berkeley. So it's like,
yeah. And we had already been living together for a few months and wanted to just continue on that path. Because our relationship was so solid and, never has been anything but.
And a lot of friends. I think for me, what gave me comfort was just like, okay, so we can hop to Nashville because there's just so many people we know.
Yeah, there was a big community of Berkeley alumni in Nashville already, so it felt like a comfortable place to land. And also just to experience something different. Both of us had never lived in the South. No. So that's how we ended up there.
Oh, and sorry. So I guess now after that, I'll just zip out the end.
All right,
so
now you continue.
We got, after Nashville, Phoenix's OPT visa ran out, like she was saying. And then Phoenix did apply and go through the process herself of applying for an artist visa, which didn't work out, just timing and everything in the States. We couldn't get a lawyer at the time. And it was like, okay. So Phoenix unfortunately had to leave. And it was a very kind of stressful time because just previously I had asked her to marry me, and we were not,
like 2 months before my visa was
denied. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that was not to say, like, it wasn't like a move like, oh yeah, we'll stay in the country. It was more like Phoenix and I, as you said, we've been committed to each other right from the start. So it was like, I mean, what are we wasting time for? This is our life. Like, you and I are in it. This is it. And so after that happened, it was just this crazy whirlwind that pushed us up to Toronto at first. So Phoenix and I went and crashed with some friends, some family that she has up there, but ultimately at her grandmother's basement. And that was without a door, literally just a staircase to the basement. We slept on a couch until we got a bed for very cheap to put down in the basement.
Yeah.
But that was right as about COVID started and stuff locked down. And that's when shit got real. I don't know if we can swear on this.
Well, but, you just did. It's okay.
We just did. Okay, crap got real.
I don't think you can.
I'm sorry, crap got real. So Phoenix's family was here. They had some space, and they had the means to just put us up or help us out. Because I didn't want to go back to the States. Basically, when we got up here, I committed to being up here. I applied to be a permanent resident almost very soon after, because I just, having dealt with what Phoenix dealt with in the States, I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to commit. So I couldn't leave because I would have voided my application. So basically after that, we drove across because we were like, we can't stay in this basement. There's no space.
There's a pandemic.
There's a pandemic. We wanted to grow into Toronto, but that's not happening because music's not going to happen for a while. So yeah, that's really what pushed us here. And
so in short, after my visa was denied, our initial plan was to move to Toronto. We ended up back in Canada January of 2020, like mid-January. So it was pretty poor timing.
Yeah, we all know what that means now.
Conveniently, when the lockdown started, we were staying in my grandmother's basement. Bless her heart. But yeah, like Justin said, we just, for a multitude of reasons, thought that being in a city at that time would not be the best move for us. So that's how we ended up back on Salt Spring. And it was very unexpected. All of it was very unexpected, and was, difficult for many reasons, but we are here now.
This podcast is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, Canada's largest family-owned jewelry store. They are proud to be putting love on the map, and the staff at Charm Diamond Centers are thrilled to be a part of your love story too. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. I'm so curious to know what has impacted your songwriting and your music the most, or how the various chapters have. So Berkeley, the tumultuous journey you had since then, and being on Salt Spring Island. Like, I feel like all of those must have had some impact on your songwriting in particular.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I think most of my inspiration came from the tumultuous journey.
Really?
I mean, everything inspires songwriting in general, but the past couple of years for me personally have not been extremely inspiring. And I'm not sure exactly why, but I did. So there are a couple of songs for me that stand out. I just released a full-length album last year called Gold, and there are 2 songs on there that really reflect what we went through. And the first one is called Enough, and it's actually directly about my visa being denied in the States, because I took it really personally, and I think I took it far too personally. And that was just a result of how comfortable I was in the place that I was in with Justin in Nashville, in our house with our cat. Mm-hmm. And I figured it was just kind of a given that nothing would get in the way of that. And then all of a sudden I had, 90 days to leave the country or whatever it was. And so I took it really personally, and I felt like I wasn't good enough to stay in the States, which, it's not personal.
Right.
And I recognize that now, but that really inspired that song. And then another one called Against All Odds that I wrote when we were living with my grandma and the pandemic had just started. And I felt like, what are we doing? What am I doing? And I wrote it like sort of to remind myself that everything happens for a reason, and no matter what happens in our life or anyone's life, it's meant to happen, and everything will be what it should be against all odds.
That's so cool. What about you, Justin?
I think for me, living in the moment now and being able to reflect on everything that's happened, I find way more inspiration. I think that's probably natural to reflect on your experiences, but during it, for sure, there was this weird tear and this weird challenge. Like growing up, and I didn't take music seriously as early as Phoenix did, but I was definitely writing in high school and wrote and had some songs. And so I was doing a lot of writing in Nashville when I was around players, and I was playing, a couple nights a week or something like that. And that was really inspiring. But then I'd say that actually that tumultuous time was a very dead time for me. I think it was the first time genuinely I thought, what does this art matter? Like when COVID was going on and the world was kind of happening, it was the first time in my life. And I guess I've just been a wide-eyed child that allowed myself to dream constantly and kind of live in my imagination. So that's maybe to my own fault, but that was the first time I questioned it. That was the first time I was like, oh, this doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm putting so much pressure on it, because it really just, there's people dying. There's people that need a help to get out of bed today. So so I think that was a very humbling thing, but it made me very uninspired for a little while. And like, I don't want to write. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And now coming out of that and finding a new confidence has been, now I'm remembering and kind of pulling stuff out of those experiences for myself personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, creativity is amazing, isn't it? Like you both, it's such an individual relationship between the artist or the creator and their inspiration and their art. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's very deeply personal.
Yeah, every person, every single stream of creativity in each person separately is vastly different, it seems. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you are gardening or cooking, do you sing together?
We're often, I think, without us even knowing it, we're musical. We're harmonizing with each other. We're singing songs. Maybe. We're humming parts of songs.
But we're never, in the kitchen just like harmonizing songs together.
No.
I am like Andrew. I never stop singing.
For sure.
It's it could be annoying at times, but
also beautiful.
Yeah, I guess there's just music all around, all the time, regardless of whether we are aware of it or not, I think. Yeah.
Will you give me a little taste of your voices together? Oh, yeah. Would you mind?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I was thinking, it's like, oh, yeah, we had the
mic.
My
guitar's right there.
Okay.
Oh, great. Guitar and everything.
We'll play you a little bit of a song of ours called Slow Motion.
All right. Great.
What if we got married, headed out of town, kept on going 100 miles out? What if we got lost out there, the great unknown, picked up sticks like little kids, built ourselves a home? And I suppose living in your slow motion, eyes closed, falling like I'm floating, we don't gotta talk about it, so we'll go in slow motion.
That was so extraordinary. And it seems that there's so much metaphor in harmonizing and singing together for a relationship.
Yeah, there is. I feel like every song that we have written together is a metaphor for our relationship.
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't even think there's so many days where I don't even think of it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, we're both like musicians taking it very seriously. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could be in a relationship with a doctor or with someone who's just hanging at home. Like,
probably have a little more money.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but yes. Yeah. So we take it for granted a lot. So we appreciate you,
That song is one of my favorites, and it's one of our newest songs together. And it definitely is like the whole conversation we just had about ending back up in my hometown. It's essentially a metaphor for that, and living in slow motion and
Feels like it right now. We're living in slow
basically
motion.
wanting to just go into the woods and get married, and which is actually what we're doing.
So how's that going to happen?
We found a little place on island, a little like B&B, a cute little.
Yeah, we're having a small, like intimate wedding ceremony and celebration in September, like Justin said, on our 7th anniversary.
And can you just give us a taste of what it's going to be like?
Yeah, it's like Justin said, we have a B&B rented. So there's this beautiful property on the top part of the island here that overlooks the islands and the sunset. So we're just going to have a very intimate ceremony there. And it's going to be small. I think there's about 20 people that are coming, just our closest family, essentially. And, we could have waited. We have been engaged for 3 years almost. We could have continued to wait until things, looked exactly the way that we had planned. But I don't think that it ever is going to look, the way that you plan it to an extent. So I think we just don't want to wait anymore to be married. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited.
Can you tell me, Justin, what do you love most about Phoenix?
The realness, I would say. And that was one of the first things I remember talking to Phoenix. I came from Boston, and so much of my life was hustle, bustle, and kind of not putting on a front, but like just chaos, honestly, controlled chaos from where I'm from and who I knew and these relationships I had. And Phoenix was just a breath of fresh air. And I mean, that's what this place has been in my life, is a new way to be, a new way to think, a new perspective to see. And on top of being a talented musician, she just has the greatest heart and just has so much empathy. It was just everything I could see I wanted to get me through life, right? It's like you see these things and it's like, I don't need every bit. I just need these things that'll like keep me true. And I think Phoenix embodies most of those qualities for sure. So it's not one thing, but it's just, I'd say her realness.
That's very sweet of you.
Phoenix, what about Justin?
One of the first things that drew me to Justin, similarly, is his honesty, like how honest he was. And it inspires me to be a more honest person. And I think in the parts of me that I lack, he makes up for, if that makes any sense. Even emotionally, he has taught me so much in regards to communication and communicating honestly and being upfront. And, that is one of my favorite things about him, is like how he makes me a better person.
Well, it sounds like you're harmonizing beautifully through life. And I can't wait to hear your voices live sometime in the near future, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope we can come visit you and play some shows in Halifax.
Or get you out here to get the book out here too.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
Thanks, guys, so much for joining us today on the Canadian Love Map. Where can people find you?
Well, my solo music is under my name, Phoenix Lazar. You can, if you just, search my name on Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, phoenixlazar.com. And then our duo is Fox and Hound, Fox, Fawkes, and HOWND, if you want to check that out.
And then I'm at Hound Creates, HOWND Creates. I know we're making it hard with the names, but yeah, Hound Creates on all socials. I do a lot of digital art and kind of getting into that space. And so I've kind of consolidated music and art into one thing. So everything's there.
Great. I just want to say thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
This has been a joy. So good to hear your voice.
We love you so much.
Yeah. See you again.
I love you guys. I love your sound. I love your energy. I'm thankful that you brought a little bit of the Salt Spring Island energy into our Canadian Love Map podcast today.
Oh, good. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. If you love us, please subscribe and share. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter.
This
has been
a Podstarter
production.